1 day on Mars is 24 hours, 36 minutes in Earth time. 1 1/4 of Earth days. 1 day on Mars is 1 1/4 Earth day. The natives call this 1 day a pardan. 1 year on Mars is 1.88 Earth years long, meaning it's almost 2 years long. So 1 year on Mars is almost 2 Earth years long, which translates out to 686 days. This is how long it takes for Mars to travel around the sun one time. So it takes Mars 686 days to travel around the sun one time. The natives call this year a Ard, right? Which break down into 10 months. When we told you on Venus they had 13 months, but on Mars they have 10 months. Each month the natives call a 10, right? Which is 68 days long, right? The natives break down the pardan, which is a day, into 10 zodes. A zode is a reference to an hour. Each zode is 50 zacks, which is minute. And each zack is 200 tiles, and tiles are seconds. So I hope I ain't lose nobody there, right? Just wind it back and listen to it again, okay? And a zack is 2 minutes, 53 seconds long, right? A tile is 886 seconds long. And the zodes are individually numbered. The first zode begins the day at dawn. Mars has 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos. One is 3,700 miles from Mars, and the other one is 14,580 miles from Mars. These moons really are hollowed out and been turned into warship. We'll get into that later. On Mars, right? Because once you get an understanding on this, right? There's still water on Mars. All the water that was on Mars from the beginning is still on Mars because it can't leave the atmosphere. So 60% of the water on Mars is in a frozen ice capsule in the northern hemisphere. The atmosphere of Mars is comprised mostly of carbon dioxide, which means you're gonna have to keep your helmet on when you get outside of Mars. Yo, and like we say, most of Mars is made up of carbon dioxide. But your planet, your atmosphere is made up of mostly nitrogen, of 70% nitrogen and only 21% oxygen, which is now starting to change because of the pollution from the carbon dioxide coming out of the cars, right? The carbon monoxide, and then from them cutting down the trees. When you cut down the trees, you gotta understand the trees convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, right? So if you study putting more cars on the road and cutting down the trees, what you doing? You put more carbon dioxide in the air and cutting down. See, we put a certain amount of trees here in order to maintain a certain percentage of oxygen. And once you get rid of that oxygen, once you start cutting down these trees, you're messing up the ecosystem, thus decreasing the percentage of oxygen within the air. It'll begin to change the way people look. So like we say, most of your atmosphere made up to 70% nitrogen and about around 20% oxygen and about 5% argon and a little bit of carbon dioxide in that, which is increasing as we speak. The more people drive these cars around, right? They're trying to get a little better on doing the carbon dioxide thing, but they still polluting the air with these cars. Instead of going all electric cars or going to all hybrid cars, you're running off water. The same technology that was given to them by the Venerian Nicholas Tesla or William Tesla, right? He changed his name a couple times to hide his identity, right? But he gave them a whole bunch of technology as far as moving around with that would save us billions of dollars. But these people, these elite government have kept these things to themselves, and they use these things on other planets like the Mars. Right? So your planet has 70% nitrogen. So why ain't you breathing nitrogen? So you go understand the game that they try to play on you when they tell you that Mars has mostly carbon dioxide, right? They say 95%, but it's really like 82% carbon dioxide, right? Which is still a little bit dangerous for you coming out of this. If you coming from Earth going to Mars, right? It'll take you a couple months or weeks using certain equipment, be able to go out and breathe for a couple hours on Mars. But with the radiation on the surface, it'll be dangerous to go out without a suit. See what I'm saying? Due to the walls, like we told you. From what you think or what they taught you, right? The natives are used to the carbon dioxide in the air, and so they can come out and walk around and breathe in it for about 4 hours before they had to go back into their dome or go back to their underground cave they got, the underground cities that they got built, okay? So they got advanced underground cities built underground, the native, right? I'm about to get into the natives, which are dark-skinned beings, okay? There are creatures on Mars that don't breathe oxygen. or don't breathe at all. They don't even have lungs. They don't even breathe, right? We're going to get into those creatures too. Keep in mind, your government have been going to Mars now since 1970. That was their first mission that they sent with Neil Armstrong, right, and Buzz. Where they get Buzz Lightyear in the movie Toy Story, right? Buzz, these guys and a Russian astronaut did their first flyby Mars in 1970. Then in 1973, they sent people to land on Mars. And then in 1980s, they set up a whole colony on Mars. And we're about to get into that too, right? So the secret government know about the ice capsule. Government has took over some of the cities, the ruined cities, due to the wars. They have took over one of these cities, and now they have their own city on Mars for the elites only, for the billionaires, right? Which is like the Billionaires Boys Club is all about. It's about the elites having and they got, and they got highways, right? Because it already had highways on Mars. It already had cities on Mars, right? So they got highways, they got dome structures, they growing food on Mars, right? And it's only for the billionaire elite because they gonna try to get out of here. They messed up the world and trying to get out of here, right? They done put holes in your ozone layer just like they did on our planet Riz. They done blew holes in the ozone layer. They know the time is coming. That's why the earth is cracking up. They know that the sun's coming close to the planet, so they're trying to get the hell out of here, right? So they spend billions of dollars. And what you think Richard Blanchett is all about, right? The guy that's in charge of getting these people up there, in charge of building the ships. He's also in charge of the time machine too, used it for doing the clone, right? And supposedly this city that they built can house over 200,000 people, right? And crewmen, right? So they can get the hell out of here and start over, right? If the planet decides to destroy itself. They were able to set up because the first people they sent there got eaten and got a whole bunch of other things happen to them, right? Because they didn't understand what they was doing. They didn't understand where they was going into. They didn't think that nobody was there. And once they found out, they seen the water from the pictures of Neil Armstrong craft. Neil Armstrong them took pictures of the water and the ice capsule and the different structures and the pyramids. Because there's over 90 pyramids on Mars, right? Most of them been covered up with the sand, right? And then ask your question, who built these pyramids? Right? There's even a pyramid structures with 3 pyramids aligned with the belts in Orion. Now check that out. These are the things that they keep it secret that we exposing. So the elites are already on Mars. They've been on Mars. And they trying to set NASA is lying, trying to sell you these tickets. They trying to send people to Mars. They already got a whole system, a whole economy set up on Mars. The elites, the Russians, the French, all the rich governments, the bankers, the world leaders, the beings with a lot of money who got a lot of connect are already set up on Mars, man. They already set up on the back of the moon. So there's wars going on right now because of these beings. They made deals with the Greys and with the Ashtar Command to be able to set up these camps. But little do they know, they gonna be betrayed and the Martians gonna capture their ass and kill all of them, right? There's a main temple on Mars, right? The temple is called the Temple of Reward. It's where all the beings who are honored go to get honored and get their reward. It's where all the beings go who do wrong go to get their punishment, right? And it's overseen by a queen. And the queen name is Badu, who looks identical to Erykah Badu. Check that out. Can you believe that, baby? The Queen of Mars look identical to Erykah Badu. And her name is Badu. Check that out. And she is the actual princess. Her mother was the empress before her that ran. And these people are black, dark skin, woolly hair to straight hair beings with brown eyes, brown to dark black eyes. Their eyes are a little slanted, a little smaller than ours, but these beings can come down here and pass off as humans with a little slight difference. They can pass off as humans. Queen Badu, she has a soft, woolly looking fro. She looks just like Erykah Badu. Now get that. So how that happens, maybe they clone Badu and put her on this planet or something. I don't know. But I tell you what I do know is the chick look just like Erykah Badu. There are 5 major kingdoms, right, on Mars. In the last 50 years, Mars have jumped a little bit ahead of the Earth public in technology due to the secret government giving them technology such as lasers, hovercrafts, and stuff like that, in order to try to win them over and trick them into getting a particular spot there to be able to escape if anything go down on Earth. See what I'm saying? The capitals is Helium, right? Which is took over by Ashtar Command now, and we'll get into that because Ashtar Command built a dome city on the surface, right? And Helium is 2 cities called the Twin Cities, right? The 2 primary cities are the Greater Helium and the Lesser Helium, located 75 miles apart, right? Both cities have mile-high towers rising in the center of the city, right? Decorated and you know what I'm saying, different limestones and different types of stones, and you can see it from miles away, right? And faster travel between two cities other than the hover starships, right? Or the airships, like kind of like an air, cause they have an airport at these in these cities, like airports where they can like kind of like what you got now, like you know airplane style ships, but there's just a little bit more advanced, right? And they just got this stuff. They just started working with these type of equipment less than 50 years ago, right? Because the natives wasn't really fascinated about technology. They're more fascinated in how to live long and you know do you know. But on Mars, they more into war. It's a war. Always into a war. It's a war going on right now as we speak on Mars. So listen, they also have an underground train rail system that can get you to this city in less than like 10 seconds. On this underground rail system, it can take you the 75 miles to the city. They got some kind of electric type train system, right? That'll take you to the next city in less than a couple seconds, right? But the city is mostly controlled by Ashtar Command, right, on the surface. But Ashtar Command ain't in control of Mars. The black people, or the dark-skinned beings, are in control of the planet, right? At the great city main entrance of Helium, they have huge golden gates, right? When the gates open up, they have moss-cushioned avenues stretching for 5 miles into the heart of the city. That leads into a huge plaza with a huge crystal water fountain in the front of the temple, right? The second temple of rewards, because they have 2 temples of rewards. They have one on the surface and one in the center. The one on the surface is the clone of the one in the center, right? This is where all heroes are honored, servants are rewarded, right? And traitors are punished, right? These individuals are led to stand before the throne of righteousness and judgment, right? And they're judged by the empress or the queen called Bardu, who is the princess who now became the queen of Mars, the war goddess, right? Okay, let's go to the natives. The natives, the dark-skinned natives called the Lamuyans, right? They really call the Lamuyans, which some people call them the Martians, right? They call themselves the firstborn, right? The firstborn, right? The Lamu native people, firstborn, are the oldest humanoid race on the planet. They live near the South Pole. Their main city lies on the shores of the underground Oman Sea, right? Most of their major cities are underground to get closer to the water and due to wars that took place on the surface, making the soil, radiation, and atmosphere turn into carbon dioxide. So they polluted their planet, just like what's going down here, right? With the carbon dioxide, right? These natives can breathe this, you know what I'm saying? They also have dome cities on the surface. They have groups of black monks who live in temple caves on the surface, carved out the side of a mountain, right? Outside of the dome. There is also a city called Kamtar with a population of 200,000 located in a city called Rift. These beings physically similar to the other humanoids in respect, but their eyes were slightly narrow than the eyes of most other Martians, right? Their most distinctive feature is their skin, which is a polished ebony, right? And like most people on Mars, they have black hair, right? But these beings have black, woolly to gray hair. The gray hair, dark skin is the genetical slice of the original people of Mars, right? When they're underground in their cities, they wear kits and harnesses, and typically the harnesses are thick with jewels and precious metals depending on their rank. When they go outside on the surface or outside of the dome, they dress in uniforms that look similar to the U.S. military, but they're especially designed to protect them from radiation, right? And make them almost invisible on the surface, where you can't even see them badly. They can blend in with the desert attire around. So the whole time NASA was there, they was watching them, right? The firstborn themselves say that they are descendants of the first Martians born from the tree of life, right? The almond bean, right? Their height ranged from 5 feet to 7.5 feet tall. They can weigh in between 100 to 200 pounds solid muscle, right? There's no fat people on Mars. Keep that in your mind. There's no fat people on Mars. The natives, right? The natives for the most part are vegetarian. Some of the natives have converted to the ways of the guests and hunt for meat. They are born, check this out, they are born like humans on Earth, except they have their children just like Earth people, but the women don't have birth pains. The women don't have birth pains, right? They can live up to 1,200 Earth years. And most of the people on Mars, let me tell you, because most of the people on Mars lay eggs, right? They lay the eggs outside of their body. But these natives, they keep their egg inside of their body for a 12-month period. You know what I'm saying? Because on Mars, it's really 10 months. So it'll be a 12-month period, which is 816 days, really. Right? They hold their kid in their stomach. Other races, it can take up to 5 years for them to have their baby. So some of the people on Mars, right? And we'll get into that, right? They had their baby standing up or squatting down like they sit on a toilet, right? And that's another thing, because Bible talked about that. These beings had their babies sitting down like they on a toilet. But at the hospital, they lay you on a bed. Pick this baby out while you laying flat. And that's incorrect. You're supposed to squat down like you on a toilet to get the baby out. And have the lights off in the room. You're supposed to bring the baby out where in the dark. You're supposed to introduce them to the light slowly, right? We'll probably drop a class on that. But this how they had their babies on Mars. The original dark skin, olive skin being, right? When the babies are born, they come out greenish looking, and then eventually they go into like an olive dark ebony color. Trying to make sure I go over all my notes that I gotta tell you, right? So I can cover everything, right? They carry the J-17 laser weapons, and they patrol the streets in armored vehicles, some of which are magnetic hovercrafts, right? Which some of the technology was given to them by Ashkar Command, and some of it was given to them by the secret government, which is a combination of the seven heads, right? French, right? The Russians, right? The United States, the British, right? Chinese, right? And there's two more, but these beings are connected and have set up a space station called Lunar Command Station on the dark side of the moon. And they have now set up a colony on Mars and lied to you right in your face, trying to lie to you and tell you that they're just not trying to send people to Mars, right? Okay, so we're going in. Like I say, these beings have been at war with Ashkar Command for quite some time now, right? They speak a language that's a crossbreed between, it sounds like a crossbreed between Arabic and the Dagon African language of Dugu, with strong tones, with feminine and masculine words. You gotta be careful. You can say the wrong thing, it get you stabbed up on Mars, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they warlike people, you know what I'm saying? And pretty much, they don't take no shit, especially the queen, right? Queen Badu, her mother didn't take no junk, and she don't take no junk. Which she'll go off with your head right then, you know what I'm saying? In front of everybody, right? Moving forward. There's a beings on Mars called the Yellow Man, which I term the lemon heads, right? The man shave their heads bald. They're like a war clan, right? They have skin the same color as a ripe lemon, right? The man sport black beards, right? When going into the outer snowfield land of the north, because they live in the north, right? The Yellow Man wear heavy clothes made from Alp and oaklet fur. We're gonna tell you what oaklets are in the Alps, right? We're gonna get into that. But within their dome city, they are as naked as any other Martian or any other Lemurian, right? They live in the freezing north regions of Mars. Their cities are built under glass domes, protecting them from the harsh arctic environment they live in, right? I refer to them as the lemonhead people. They can get up to 6 to 7 feet tall and weigh up to 200